Have you ever walked past a flowering tree and noticed something strange? One day the air is alive with the steady hum of bees. The next, that familiar sound is gone. No storm. No obvious reason. Just silence. Most people assume the bees simply moved on. But sometimes, that silence is the first sign that an entire kingdom is facing a crisis. Deep inside the hive, hidden behind layers of wax and thousands of moving bodies, a decision is unfolding that will determine whether the colony survives or disappears. It isn't random, it isn't peaceful, and despite what many people believe, becoming queen isn't something a bee is born into. It's something she has to survive. By the end of this video, you'll discover why worker bees suddenly turn against their own ruler, how an ordinary larva can become the most powerful bee in the hive, why newborn queens are often forced into deadly battles before they've even seen daylight, and the one moment that changes the fate of every bee inside the colony. Welcome to Hive Mind. Subscribe before you leave, because after this video, you may never hear the sound of a hive the same way again. Here's where we're going. First, we'll uncover what makes thousands of loyal worker bees decide their queen is no longer enough. Then, we'll reveal the incredible transformation that turns an ordinary larva into royalty. After that, we'll step inside the hive during the tense hours when multiple queens exist at the same time. And the fourth thing we cover is the one most people never see coming, a secret behavior that can determine whether an entire colony survives. Finally, we'll witness the brutal moment when only one queen can remain. Let's begin where every royal story truly starts, not with power, but with a problem. Most people think a queen rules her colony for life. At first glance, that seems true. She lays thousands of eggs, fills the hive with a chemical signal that keeps order, and rarely leaves the darkness of her wax kingdom except for one remarkable journey early in her life. But here's what makes this strange. The workers never serve the queen because she's special. They serve her because she continues proving she's the right queen for the colony. Researchers have found that a healthy queen constantly releases a blend of pheromones, chemical messages that spread from bee to bee as workers touch antennae, share food, and move through the hive. These invisible signals tell the colony that their queen is healthy, fertile, and capable of producing the next generation. Imagine standing beside a hive in your backyard on a warm summer afternoon. To you, everything seems calm. Bees arrive with bright yellow pollen baskets, guards patrol the entrance, and foragers disappear into nearby flowers. Inside, however, thousands of workers are quietly reading a message you could never smell. As long as that message stays strong, the hive remains organized. But queens grow old. Some become injured. Others begin laying fewer fertilized eggs. In many cases, their pheromone signal slowly weakens. Scientists and experienced beekeepers have observed that workers detect these subtle changes long before any human notices a visible problem. The remarkable part is that no single bee makes the decision. Instead, thousands of tiny observations become one collective judgment. One worker notices weaker pheromones. Another notices fewer young larvae. Another senses gaps in the brood pattern. Individually, these clues mean little. Together, they tell the colony something unsettling. The future is no longer guaranteed. What this means is the hive doesn't wait for disaster. It prepares for it before most signs are visible, almost like a living superorganism anticipating tomorrow instead of reacting to today. But this isn't the strangest part, because once the colony reaches that conclusion, something extraordinary begins. The next queen isn't born different. She's chosen. Most people imagine queen bees hatching from special eggs. What few people realize is that every female bee starts life almost exactly the same. During the first few days after an egg hatches, The tiny larvae are nearly identical. If you looked inside the hive without knowing what to search for, you would never guess that one of them could become the future ruler, while thousands of her sisters spend their lives as workers. The difference isn't written into the egg, it's created by the colony. When workers decide a replacement is needed, they select only a handful of very young larvae, usually less than 3 days old. Around these chosen few, they begin building unusual wax chambers that hang vertically instead of lying flat like ordinary brood cells. To a beekeeper, these queen cells stand out immediately. To the rest of the colony, they're an investment in survival. Then comes one of the most extraordinary acts in the natural world. The selected larvae receive an uninterrupted diet of fresh royal jelly, a rich, nutrient-packed secretion produced by young nurse bees. Studies suggest this specialized diet changes the way certain genes are expressed during development, allowing the future queen to develop fully functioning ovaries, a larger body, and a lifespan measured in years rather than weeks. Picture the inside of the hive. Warm air hovers around 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Thousands of wings gently circulate heat. Nurse bees move with incredible precision through the darkness, each carrying tiny drops of food to only a chosen few. Every visit is deliberate. Every feeding is a vote for the colony's future. Meanwhile, thousands of ordinary larvae just centimeters away receive different care, sealing their entirely different destinies. If you've ever watched bees calmly visiting flowers in your garden, it's almost impossible to imagine that behind those peaceful flights, a handful of workers may already be quietly creating a new queen. What this means is that royalty inside a hive isn't inherited. It's built, meal by meal, decision by decision, by thousands of ordinary workers acting together. And that's where the real mystery begins. Because choosing several future queens instead of one sounds like the safest strategy. In reality, it creates the most dangerous hours the hive will ever experience. Choosing several future queens sounds like the safest plan. But inside the hive, it creates a problem that nature solves with astonishing brutality. Most people think the first queen to emerge simply takes over. The truth is far more unsettling. As the chosen larvae complete their transformation, the hive grows noticeably different. Worker bees continue their daily routines, gathering nectar and defending the entrance. Yet beneath that familiar rhythm, tension is building. Hidden inside the oversized queen cells, several fully developed queens are waiting to emerge. And then something remarkable happens. Before a young queen even sees daylight, she often begins making a strange, high-pitched sound known as queen piping. Beekeepers have described it as a clear, vibrating call echoing through the hive. Researchers believe these sounds help queens communicate their presence, while also revealing that rivals are still alive inside their sealed chambers. Imagine placing your ear close to a healthy hive. To you, it might sound like nothing more than a gentle buzz. But mixed within that chorus, a future queen may already be announcing herself. Every vibration carries one simple message: I'm here. And somewhere nearby, another queen may be answering. What this means is that the struggle for the throne often begins before the queens ever meet face to face. But what happens next changes everything. Most people assume worker bees stop fighting once a new queen is ready. Instead, they become active participants in deciding her future. If the colony is preparing to swarm, a natural process where the old queen leaves with part of the workforce, workers may prevent the first young queen from attacking her rivals. They surround unopened queen cells, guarding them until the right moment. This delay allows multiple queens to survive long enough for new colonies to form. But if the colony isn't planning to divide, The workers step aside. The first queen is free to search the hive. Picture the scene. She moves rapidly across warm sheets of honeycomb, her antennae constantly sweeping the wax. Around her, thousands of workers quietly part to let her pass. There is no panic, no chaos. It's almost as if the entire colony understands what must happen next. She pauses beside a sealed queen cell. Inside, another queen is alive. She can hear her. She can sense her. And without hesitation, she tears into the wax using powerful jaws, reaching the rival before she has a chance to emerge. Sometimes the fight ends there. Sometimes two queens meet in the open, grappling, biting, and stinging until only one remains alive. Unlike worker bees, queens have smooth stingers that allow them to sting repeatedly during these deadly encounters. It feels shocking to us. Yet for the colony, allowing multiple egg-laying queens to compete indefinitely would create confusion, divided loyalty, and ultimately threaten the survival of the entire hive. What this means is that what looks cruel from a human perspective is actually one of nature's most efficient survival strategies. But even after one queen remains, her greatest challenge hasn't arrived yet. Most people imagine that becoming queen means the hard part is over. In reality, her reign hasn't truly begun. Within days, weather permitting, the young queen leaves the safety of the hive on one of the most dangerous flights of her life. She rises high above fields, trees, and gardens to reach places known as drone congregation areas, locations where thousands of male bees from many different colonies gather. Scientists are still investigating exactly how these gathering places remain consistent year after year, but they have been observed across many regions of the world. High above your neighborhood, where no signs mark the location, thousands of drones may already be waiting. There, the queen mates with multiple drones during flight, storing enough sperm to fertilize eggs for years to come. Many of those drones die immediately after mating, making this their only contribution to the future of the hive. When the queen returns, she rarely leaves again. From that moment forward, her life changes completely. Deep inside the hive, surrounded by workers that once questioned whether the old queen should remain, she begins laying the eggs that will shape the colony's future. Every nurse bee, every guard, every forager visiting your flowers, every generation begins with the outcome of those hidden decisions. What this means is that the hive's greatest strength isn't its queen. It's the collective intelligence of thousands of workers that recognized a problem, selected a successor, and ensured the colony survived long before most danger became visible. So the next time you notice bees drifting quietly from flower to flower, remember this: somewhere beyond what your eyes can see, an entire society may be making decisions that would challenge our own understanding of leadership, sacrifice, and survival. A queen isn't simply born. She is chosen, tested, protected, challenged, and if necessary, forced to fight for the right to keep an entire civilization alive. The garden may seem peaceful. The hive may sound like nothing more than a soft hum. But beneath that familiar sound is one of the most extraordinary systems of cooperation ever created by nature, a hidden world that has been unfolding beside us all along. Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever watched bees in your garden and wondered if something much bigger was happening inside the hive than you could actually see?